Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm Lincoln and today is the 23rd, which means we had candy apple with a prompt and I decided to go with more like a poison apple like from Snow White. So I had a little fun with it. This one is a pretty easy one today. I'm going to put up the rest of the prompt list now. I know today's sculpting challenge was pretty easy. Tomorrow though we're going to get a little more in depth and show you how to use the posing features and the mirroring features. Alright, let's grab your iPad or other device. Let's go make a candy apple or a poison apple. Alright, so today I'm just going to leave this as the default sphere, and I know that's kind of funny, and I normally never do that, but for this, an apple, it's perfect. Alright, I'm going to grab the paintbrush, and I'm just going to come in here and just pick a green, and it doesn't really matter too much. You know, you don't want it shiny for the apple, kind of give it a little bit of something right there, looks good. Now I'm not going to paint the whole thing yet, but what I want to do is come to the top and just give myself a little bit of a, just so I kind of know where I'm at in space. Makes it a little bit easier to pull down because the move and the drag brushes, depending on which one you want to use, are pretty dependent on which view you're in, and I don't like that at all. That's too hard an edge. So let's go to this guy and leave it on grab and just regular alpha. So just pull this down. It just makes it easier to see in space where you're at if you have that. So it's totally up to you. You don't have to use that at all, but it does help me sometimes. Now for this, I'm not going to worry about making the pull in here perfect. It really doesn't matter. It's going to have a stick in it, plus it's going to have candy on top, so it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to increase the size and just kind of move this thing a little bit. And I'm not going to leave it the typical green apple. I'm going to give it just a little bit more shape. And it doesn't need a ton, just so it's not just a round ball. And I'll just move this a little bit and got that a little hard. You can make it a red apple, whatever, yellow apple. I'm just doing the candy apple, and I'm gonna make it look kind of like the poison apple from Snow White. I think that'll be fun. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so that's pretty much it. Just basic, no big deal. I'm not going to worry about putting the bottom and bringing that up because it's going to be sitting on a shelf. Totally up to you how you guys want to do this. All right, so the next thing we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and just paint the whole thing. It'll make it easier to see the mask because it's easier to tell when you have the mask on there. So go back to paint and paint all. Now, we have a nice setup for our paint and our select mask. So grab that. I'm going to use the lasso with no symmetry, and the other thing we need to check is make sure front facing vertex is on. I don't want to be doing the same thing on the back side, and no symmetry. So on the front, I'm going to go fairly big and drippy because I want somewhere to put the face. And you guys feel free to do it however you want to. Just have fun with it. This one's a fairly easy one today. Just make it all drippy. There we go. I think that probably needs to come down a little more. There we go. And you can adjust these and move it around too once we do the extraction, so don't be too worried about making it absolutely perfect for what you want. Can all be changed, obviously. Come down. Touch the wrong thing and everything goes away. Luckily it goes back pretty easy. Alright, so that's pretty good right there. Alright, so now we're in Select Max still. Come up to this menu, and I'm going to go maybe a little bit thicker and try to extract. And okay, so that's really jagged and pixelated. So let's go back. Now I forgot to smooth that, so you can click on Select Mask, you can click on it and blur it, click out here to sharpen it, which it's already sharp enough. Kind of click it right there where it's got a nice blur, and that ought to do pretty good. So try extracting it again, and that looks pretty nice. Now you can increase the resolution, that'll help some on this. So we can do that. See, click on the apple, we're good. And if we increase the resolution, that'll help everything. Now the mask is always going to be a little on the pixelated side, but this will help. So if we click on this, it'll blur, we can blur it out a little bit more. And let's try that one. And that's much better, much smoother. Okay, so you can totally smooth this out. We can inflate that, make it look more bubbly. Let's go ahead and change the, I'm gonna name these real quick. All right, so we got the candy selected. We'll change it to the refraction. Now it's painted green, so it's going to be a green candy. So let's change this to red. Paint all. And now you have your candy. Now that also has roughness, so let's smooth it out. Paint all, and now we have a nice red candy on there. Now if you don't like the rougher edges on the candy, you can come up here and grab the gizmo and just shrink it just a tiny little bit, and you'll have to play a little bit to get it just where you want, but suck it in just like that and all the rough edges are gone. It's an easy way to take care of all those rough edges on the extraction. The other thing we can do is grab the smooth brush, bring it down a little bit and smooth those edges up, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and click to the front. Now, if you want, we can come in and grab the inflate brush. And let's see what I got set. Yeah, it'll be perfect. Okay. You can inflate this a bit. Just kind of go off to the side and see where you're at. Turn off symmetry and get a little bit bigger, and you can inflate these up. Make them a little more bubbly and round everywhere if you want. I'm just going to do this on a little bit on the front and not around the whole thing right now anyway. I'll do it a little bit later, but you guys get the idea. Pretty simple. Alright, so I'll speed this up. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now you could come in here and flatten these out a little bit, and that will help get rid of these harder edges if you want, and go around the whole thing and smooth it out and make it look a little more like drips. Now the biggest thing on these, if you really want them to be real drip-like, is to grab the move brush and you can just kind of pull these down and make it a little more dripped at the edges. This. And just pull them in and out. And I'm going to kind of leave that because that looks fine for what I want. I'm going to leave it a little fairly cartoony. Now I'm going to go ahead and remesh this candy. And we can smooth all that out. Make it a little more glassy. And for this one, just to keep it quick, I'm just going to stay kind of at the front where I plan on putting this in the scene. It'll probably be seen just from the front anyway. Okay, so click on it just like that. Now I want to do the Snow White kind of poison apple looking thing. I need to cut the two eyes out of it. So let's turn off the apple and make it easier to see what we got going on. Aim this down and cut through so you're not cutting through the backside. Or you can do a shape, whatever you want to do. So I think for me, I'm going to use the trim. I'll just aim it down and just pull it through. So I know where I'm at and cutting this. I'll use the paint again. I'm going to go over here and just go to silver. And it doesn't really matter too much. Oops, a little big. About that size down. Just so I kind of know where I'm at. Right there. Okay. Now we'll use the trim tool to bring this down and we'll just cut all the way through it. I'm just going to make sure that I cut all the paint off. That. Now let's use the gizmo and make sure that I didn't cut. Yep, I didn't cut the backside. So, and you can see our wire is pretty pixelated. So let's go ahead and remesh it. And then we can smooth that. Grab the smooth and just smooth this off a little. Now, if it's hard to see what you've got going on, come up to the materials and just hit opaque, and then you can cut it. It'll be a little bit easier to see what you have, what you're doing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on put the apple back on. And you can see we still have the masking on the apple, so we'll change that. Any one of the masking ones, and just clear it. Masking on the apple. Okay. Now we can move this around a little. I'm going to move the eye and give it a little drip around the eyes too. Grab the inflate brush and just give this a little something around the eyes. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Candy. There we go. Just kind of make a drip on the eye and the nose a little. And I'll kind of round everything out too. Alright, and then I'm going to grab the move brush again and just kind of tweak and pull. Okay, that looks pretty good. Turn it back into candy. And you can play with the refraction a little bit if you want. It won't make a ton of difference on this. You can make it super shiny, knock it down a little bit. It depends on what environment you have it in. The index of refraction will change things up a little bit too, and make it move a little. So that looks pretty good. Last thing, let's put a stick in it and paint the apple. We'll add a cylinder, squeeze it down. That looks pretty good. Let's call that good. All right. Subdivide it, validate it. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just use the, I'll use stamp on this. That'll be fine. And I've already have a wood alpha in here. And if you go with the paintbrush, I have the wood texture in there as well. And we'll just pull this on. And that's pretty strong and dark, but that might look all right. And I don't like the dark line on there, so you can just kind of come through here and just pull this. This stamp is so small and fine anyway, it'll work fine for doing that. Just pull it the right direction. You can match that up if you want the grain line. Put it aside. That's a good thing about using a smaller stamp like this. Okay, just go around it, make sure it looks good. It looks fine. All right, last thing we can do, I have a alpha that I made for the paint, and it's just basically from Procreate. It's the luminance with a low opacity and then just a bright white touching on the spots, and it'll give us the right color for the apple spots. So we can come in here and come in here and grab the apple, get the color, and I'm just gonna go kind of like a whitish gray. Apple. Oops, I need to change that to grab, I think intensity we'll go with. No, we'll go grab dynamic radius instead. And this one's not going to be terribly realistic with this paint color, but it'll give a few spots. And you can change the size and scale to get a few more in there. And I think I'm going to call that good. Alright, if you guys are liking these tutorials, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Alright, thanks.